Good morning. Yesterday we looked at Proverbs again, and we looked at the importance of parenting and the role of the dad and the role of the mom. And they make a team in God's sight. He's put them together. He's made them one. And then he entrusts treasures we call children. And we are a steward of their development and their teaching. And so dad steers the ship. Mom makes sure it stays on course, and the children submit themselves to that teaching. That's God's program. There's always going to be voices. And so we looked at the verse, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. And so an admonition yesterday really to teenage children as to who they're going to listen to. Well, today in Proverbs chapter 1, we're going to pick up in verse number 20, and we're actually going to zero in on verse 22, which gives us all of the characters of the book of Proverbs. And so we're going to read from verse 20 to the end of the chapter. And the Bible says, wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, or the shopping centers, in the opening of the gates, in the city she uttereth her words, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity, and I will mock when your fear cometh. When your feet cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For they that hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. Well, our text is really a warning, but it's also a description of the characters of the book of Proverbs. And we're going to see a lot of application to those various characters. But verse number 20 talks about wisdom crying in the street. And the wisdom there references God calling out. Really, it's a representation of Christ as he is calling out to the world to model their life after his character, to accept his counsel, to listen to his reproof. And he is saying, listen, I love you. I gave my life for you. I paid the penalty of your sin. I want you to dwell in safety. I want you to walk in wisdom. I want you to be successful in life. And it's almost this picture that God is on one shoulder. Christ is crying out to us and calling in wisdom. And on the other side is Satan. And he is appealing to the other three characters. The simple are those who are just ignorant. They almost in Proverbs have the idea of like an airhead, someone who just kind of travels along and whatever happens, happens. I'm not worried about anything. It's that simplicity type of approach to life. And God says, how long are you going to stay simple? How long are you just going to stay ignorant? Why will you not learn and mature and grow? And then he says, scorners, how long will you love your scorning, your rebellion? You that think you're in control of your own destiny, those of you that think you can control your own life, You that want absolutely no one to tell you anything contrary to what you want. You're constantly looking for people who will simply reaffirm that you can do whatever you want. And anyone who gives you counsel, anyone who gives you advice, anyone who confronts or scolds you becomes your enemy. How long are you going to do that? And then fools, how long are you going to despise knowledge? In other words, we know that verse 7 says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And it really is a knowledge of the character and person of Christ that we are to emulate, that which we'll give an account to. So then the rest of this passage, he then begins to explain that as you're confronted with these other avenues, as you are tempted with these other things, wisdom says don't do it. Don't be selfish. Don't feed your flesh. Don't pursue that worldliness. It promises a lot, but it'll never deliver. It delivers heartache and heartbreak and difficulty and fear. Don't go that way. And God cries for us to follow wisdom, not simplicity, not scorning, not foolish things. Don't do it. However, he says, some people won't listen to wisdom. They won't listen to the wisdom of their parents. They won't listen to the wisdom of their pastors. They won't listen to the wisdom of policemen. They will not listen to wisdom of professors. They're not going to listen to the people that God places in their life to help them, to guide them, to direct them, to help them mature. And he says the problem is what they're telling you about truth isn't going to change. But as you march down the path to destruction, when you get to the end of that road and the consequences start coming, and then you come screaming back saying, okay, God says, I will laugh at your calamity. It doesn't mean that he's going to laugh and mock like human beings do. He's simply saying that God's going to remind you, this is what I was telling you. This is why I told you not to do it. This is what I was warning you about. God's going to sit there and say, I wasn't giving you those rules and regulations and counsel to try to limit you or to stifle you or to bother you. I was giving those things as guidance because I know that if you didn't do what I told you, this is what would happen. This is why it would hurt. This is how it would feel. And I was trying to keep you from that, but you wouldn't listen to me. I can't tell you a number of people as a pastor that I've pleaded with to get off of the course that they were on because I knew the consequences that lied ahead for them. And I can't tell you the number of people that have come back complaining about those consequences. And I just sometimes shake my head thinking, I tried to tell you. I was warning you. I told you that was the road you were on, and that's what it would look like. But you wouldn't listen. God says, there is another path. You don't have to follow down that path to destruction. And I love what he says in verse number 33. He says, but you don't have to be simple. You don't have to be a scorner. You certainly don't have to be foolish. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. God is simply saying, you know what? I love you. I want you to be secure. I want you to be at peace. I want you to experience joy. I don't want you to be going through the consequences of sin and selfishness. I want you to enjoy the peace that comes from being spirit-controlled and spirit-filled. And the question really comes to us today from our devotions. Who are you going to be? And who are you going to listen to? Are you going to be a wise person who listens to wisdom? Are you going to be a simple person who just don't mess with me, don't mess me up with the facts? I just want to live in my own little simple world. Are you the type of person that says, I don't want anybody telling me what to do? Or are you the fool that says, I'm going to do the opposite just to prove the fact that I can run my own life? God says, you can go down that path. That hurts when you're done. There's a lot of heartache at the end of that path. You don't have to. I'm warning you about it. I'm telling you to get off the path and to listen to wisdom. Because if you do, there is safety and there is peace. It is a wonderful reminder. God is on our shoulder yelling, I love you. I care about you. I want to help you. The devil is on the other shoulder, tempting, lying, deceiving, trying to get us in the path of destruction. God says, choose wisdom. It's worth it. I hope it's a blessing to you. I hope that we'll all work together to choose wisdom today as we serve the Lord faithfully. May God bless you. See you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.